Welcome back. We're moving into our first conversation for this morning as we find out more about the 2018 Global Exchange Network and what they're doing here in Belize. We have with us on set Natasha Behari, who is formerly the Director of Guest Services at Sandals Resort, but she's now a co-sponsor of the fellowship program along with Chef Belinda Bishop. We have Nada Zakaria, who is a Global Tourism Fellow in her first year. And we have Mehreen Arshad, who is also a Global Tourism Fellow in her first year. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you. Okay. So, Natasha, let's start off by finding out a bit about how this idea first came about and what you're trying to achieve.
It basically came about when I moved back to my native Grenada from England. And I connected with Chef Belinda Bishop, who's actually on her way this morning to Belize. Sorry she couldn't be here. We realized that we had a common goal and dream to build tourism and culture in our country to kind of showcase more of a home away from home experience rather than just come to the hotel, the beach and leave.
Yeah.
So that's how that came about. And then we obviously connected with Ambassador Shabazz, who's the ambassador at large for Belize, to grow and build this. Yeah. So we founded Flavors of Grenada, which is an event that we created to bring everything under one umbrella when it comes to Grenada, for people to come and experience in the form of an event. So it'd be like a 3 to 7 day event that people can come in any time during that period and experience Grenada as a culture, as a people.
Now, with your experience in the hospitality industry, that's kind of flipping the script, isn't it?
I basically went into the hospitality industry when I got to Grenada so that I could be more exposed in that field because of my vision to create the flavors of Grenada in the end. So that was why I shifted into the hospitality industry when I got to Grenada. That is the best way to kind of gain experience and understand what visitors are expecting and what they need or what they think that your country is about. So you do get an understanding of what their mindset is, and I did that through obviously working in hospitality.
As it relates to, it's a global exchange network. Visitors to a country, there are certain basic needs that all of them have. They expect to be friendly, but isn't part of tourism our differences? So that maybe in Belize we have a thing where we get some tokens from Guatemala. We just simply scratch off Guatemala, we stick on Belize on it, and so the experience, just the architecture is probably different, but almost the exact same experience. Is there a conflict between it being what the exchanges are in terms of the universality of it and the uniqueness of each country? Do we lose that by exchanging?
Wow, that's a very good question. Do we lose it in the process of exchange? I mean, it's definitely a risk. It's a balancing act, right? Because cultural preservation, you have to really maintain the origin, the history, and that's what Belize is all about. I mean, that's what I've seen, and that's the most beautiful thing that I've seen and witnessed. No matter how people identify, Creole, Mestizo, Garifuna, everybody at the end of the day is Belizean, And so that's what we're focused on. We're focused on really preserving that history and elongating it and creating pathways to really expand that and show tourists that, you don't have to just go to the resorts and the islands, although they're wonderful. You can just go through those pathways and find local, amazing people, We had the pleasure of visiting a lot of great people on the mainland, We stayed on the mainland. That was the objective of the trip, to stay there right when we got there. And so that was really valuable to us because we started out with that foundational aspect interacting with everyday people. And so it's a balancing act, of course, but we really want to honor the history, and that's the purpose of this delegation and this fellowship. So, yeah.
And I want to step back to that. How did an idea about exposing your home island for more than just the traditional tourist attractions, how did it expand into a fellowship program? How does it work?
Well, it began through Ambassador Shabazz. She has Grenadian roots, and obviously she's been the ambassador for Belize for a number of years. It was fundamentally the vision that we have to give back. We chose to go back to where we originated from, Chef Belinda and I, because we felt that we needed to give back to the coming generation, basically, and just kind of not lose that culture, and and lose that heart of what your individuality is about, the country-wise.
And so how did you two ladies get involved?
So I met Ambassador Shabazz last year, and we stayed in touch, and she called me up one day, and she was like, do you want to be part of this fellowship that's focused on translating culture, and that's focused on connecting partially businesses and the local people that they serve? And I was basically hooked from that point.
Wait, what were you doing at the meantime that you could say, okay, I'll just leave and go to these different countries?
Well, since I'm a college student, gaining new perspectives is just what I'm focused on, so I can try to figure out what I want to do in my future path. And so just this opportunity of coming to a whole different culture and learning new perspectives motivated me to just take this chance.
Yeah. Where are you from originally?
From Houston.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you?
Yeah, so I met Ambassador Shabazz in 2009. She was giving a lecture at the university I was attending, and she's a profound speaker, obviously. So we connected later on, and I was inspired by the fact that going to a Caribbean country is just obviously going to be a go anytime, no matter what.
Hell yes.
So, learning about Belize more and more, I was just so inspired by the culture and everything like that. I'm originally from Sudan, so as a Sudanese American woman, to be able to interact with a culture that has had a lot of diffusion and translation and exchange with Africa is an honor and a privilege for sure. And that's primarily the reason. And I'm also very interested, the fellowship is primarily about culinary arts, hospitality, sustainability, illustration. It has so many components that I think all of us kind of bring to the table. In some regard, there are four fellows total, and I think that I could contribute in some regard to each of those areas based on who I am and my roots. But I was also really interested in creating an impact through marketing strategies, which is my day job. How can I bring what I have to offer to Belize, and how can I learn more about Belize, and how can I take that back home and bring it back here? And that's pretty much why I'm here.
What's illustration?
How would you really describe illustration? Wow, good question. Well, I think that a fundamental area of this is definitely arts as well, and honoring those things. And I think that's how I would translate it and how I would define that.
So visualizing Belize, basically. Belize is so beautiful, the natural wonders, and making sure that people kind of see that as well as the culture. That's how I would define it.
Yeah. Now, traveling to any foreign country, there are particular appeals that we have. Maybe it's historic sites, it's the culture, and more we're seeing in tourism where people don't necessarily want the beach and resort. They want it sometimes, but they want more. They want a richer experience, and that's kind of what we have here, and we're really able to capitalize on now. But from your perspective, just seeing the different cultures, staying, I don't know where you've been so far, where you plan to go, but how would you rate the authenticity of it? Because I can have a visit to a Maya village in the south, or I can do perhaps a Mayan-like experience in something that's been created for a tourist. How would you rate that?
I think authenticity is felt, you know. That's how I would really describe it.
Yeah.
And when you go into a space and you interact with the people, you feel their passion and their compassion for what they do. We had the honor of visiting Mr. and Mrs. Saki at the Mayan Chocolate Center. And we also visited Meta Marie Sharp and her team at the Hot Sauce Factory. So those are very authentic experiences.
Yeah.
And that was a perfect way to start off because you can just feel that love and the energy in the room as soon as you walk in. And that's how you define a true experience, right? And so you know what's real and what's not, and what's real is felt. And so having those really amazing, impactful experiences so early on was just the perfect way to set this fellowship.
I'm interested to find out in terms of what common flavors have you experienced between Belize and Grenada since you've been here?
Well, the first time I came, I was very surprised at how it was similar to Grenada. A lot of the fruits and the foods are the same, basically the same: breadfruit, mangoes, callaloo. You might the names might be different, but the foods are almost the same.
How about pace? How does Belize compare in terms of a tourist who would visit Grenada? Like, for example, I'll make a comparison. When you go to Jamaica, the energy there, the pace is kind of almost New York level, and then Belize is kind of like, I don't know, like Miami.
No.
I don't know. Well, I'm not really familiar with, but there's a difference in pace, and that surely will affect how the person coming in experiences the authenticity of Belize. Belize and Grenada, same pace?
I think that the pace, it is similar. It's Belize might be a little bit more pacey, if I can use that word. But Grenada is, when you come to Grenada, you just feel like totally like you've just come out of a spa or something. You just feel like totally relaxed. And it's the same kind of feel in Belize, but just a little bit more movement. But it's a good movement. It's a good thing, Yeah. It felt really natural when we arrived here the first time, because this is my second visit. Chef Belinda's been here a few more times, but it feels so natural now to just come and they're like, oh, welcome back, so excited to see you. And I feel like I've just come to visit my family when we arrive. Definitely.
It's interesting because it's probably changed a bit now, but Belize being a part of the Caribbean, oftentimes we feel a bit forgotten. Most people know the bigger islands, they know some of the smaller islands, and I've had the experience in being in the Caribbean, and they're like, Belize is exactly where, by which island? And it's changing, but do you still find that we're still, I'm sure as you touch down here, you feel the Caribbean culture, and that's where you see the similar, even with how the people look and how our buildings are structured. Do you feel that?
Well, Grenada is much smaller than Belize. We have about 100,000 people, so we are even more maybe forgotten in that regard. But this is why we're here, because we are there, and we're not going to be forgotten, because we are a gem in the Caribbean, just like Belize is a gem.
Island.
Yes.
Exactly. And we're just trying to let everyone know about these gems through this delegation.
And how were the fellows selected?
We were personally invited
Okay.
by Ambassador Shabazz and the Pilgrimage Foundation.
Yeah. And why do you feel that Ambassador Shabazz felt you were the best fit?
I would say that it's our point in our careers. We're definitely making moves, and So we can bring our experiences to Belize and the program and the fellowship, as well as learning from it as well. I think that she was interested in finding people that were kind of mature in their careers, but also, some variety as well. Mehreen is a student right now, but at the same time, she has a lot to contribute with food justice and sustainability and things like that. So I think we had a lot of different interests, but we could all kind of have plugged in by similar interest in understanding the world and contributing to the world, not just our own particular local spaces, but globally.
I think it's as well our passion for our culture and just culture on the whole. So we share this deep passion for culture and just community and togetherness. I think.
Mehreen, as a student, though, I have one question, because why choose to participate in a fellowship like this versus like a study abroad program where you'd be fully immersed in another culture?
So I actually have done like study abroads in like various countries, such as like Cambodia. I never say no to travel, but B, I definitely think like learning from different countries and getting different cultural perspectives, regardless of what country you go to, is very necessary. With Belize, before I touched down, I learned that the Belizean tourism is kind of what people use to make their like livelihoods, and that you don't necessarily need a college degree to be part of that and to make a like sustainable living. And so I came here wanting to learn how people plug into tourism, not just to like experience it as a tourist, but how native Belizeans translate their culture through like tourism. And that's really what hooked me.
Yeah. I'm curious in terms of, you're talking about your day job and the passion, where you guys are in your careers, and is there anything that you picked up on since you've been here that you said, man, that's something I'd like to, if I were living here in Belize, that's something I would take on, I would take that to level 1,000.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's so energizing about being here is like, the 9 to 5 every day back home is a daily grind. It's very monotonous, right? Coming here has been so tremendously energizing. I see so much opportunity, and because there's so much beauty here, and I'm like, people need to know about these places.
Right.
So it's been wonderful just to feel that energy and to take it back home and then hopefully bring it back.
What have you seen or experienced that you weren't expecting? Because it sounds like you did a lot of research before you got here.
I honestly just didn't really set too many expectations about the trip, personally.
Right.
I just tried to come with an open heart, open mind, and just take in. This is my first time here, so it's not about any kind of prescriptions. It's about just learning and absorbing and being present in the moment. So that's been really foundational to the learning here and experience in this fellowship program.
Yeah. And for you?
I think maybe the work-life balance. So back home, like there's not always a clear-cut line between the work-life balance, and it's very common to see people working like 80-hour like work weeks, 100-hour like work weeks, and having a side hustle along with their main job. And so what I really liked here was like the balance that people have between their day job and then going home like to their families and being with their families and people that they love like over the weekends, and having that mindset that like family and our other passions besides work are very important, and we're going to give time to that.
That's interesting.
Doesn't Believe have, just follow up to what you're saying, it's in terms of a production standpoint, it's not good. We don't work weekends in the way that we should. But the charm, is it the charm you're speaking about? And in terms of getting developed to a place where probably a more developed country is able to make its stamp on its identity, I'm really concerned with losing our charm and our identity and how development will affect that. I know you spoke about balance, but how do you, in terms of the areas that you guys focus on, marketing, food, justice?
Yes.
Yeah. I first have to hear what that is, and then, but how do you balance between keeping your authenticity and moving it to a place that and developing it to keep a place where anybody comes has a common quality experience?
That's a very good question.
And a long one.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think development in general needs to preserve the culture and the people's values. And so I think it is a difficult balancing act, but I definitely think that there is a balance to be had between work and productivity and making time for what is also like important to you, like such as like your family. I think maybe a collective conversation within the country like needs to be had about where and how we want to preserve the culture and our values, and where and how we would like development to take place, and what that looks like for people who are not just at the very top making the most money, but also people who are
Everyday people.
right. And what they would like to see in terms of development within Belize. So definitely a collective conversation needs to be had between all different types of people.
And you told us what food justice is?
Yes. Okay. So food justice is basically, well, it like encompasses many things. It can be making sure that all people have the access to healthy food, and not just like cheap fast food that
Like ramen.
right. But it's also within Belize. I think there's an opportunity to be had for making sure that Native Belizeans are able to be part of the like businesses that are within their like local like communities, and making sure that those businesses aren't strictly or mostly catering to tourists, making sure that the community as a whole is connected.
Yeah.
Cool.
So tell us what happens after. I'm sure listening to what you're hearing from the fellows, it means you're meeting your targets in the exposure that you wanted to provide. What's the next step after this?
The next step is we just keep moving. We take this whole network and we move it to the next place. So we go from the US to Belize to Grenada. So next year we'll be bringing this whole delegation to Grenada to experience the flavors of Grenada. So then we'll take that and then we'll continue to just move it around.
How do you work to make it mutually beneficial? That while your fellows will come and have an experience that will definitely enrich your lives, the exposure alone, what do you want to leave behind?
We want to leave an impact that we're in the end we're all interconnected and we're all one people, and we're unique in the stamp that we leave in our countries, but together we are one people and we all interlink, basically.
Yeah. On a personal level,
So can you reiterate
what do you want to leave behind?
Okay,
Yeah.
what do I want to leave behind?
Yeah.
Here in Belize?
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to leave my impressions, I guess, on the people that I made, because I did make it a point to really be present with the people that I engage with.
Yeah.
And I hope they honored that, and I honored being with them. So next time, honestly, I would like to come back and experience it again, just a new level of learning, just adding to the learning that I've already done, just visiting with people and things like that. It's the people that make Belize, And so I hope that I made an impact on the people.
Yeah.
I think for me, leaving behind a network of people that I would want to like hope to work with like one day, and making sure that we can stay in touch and collectively like continue to like learn from like one another and work with each other. And yeah, Belize definitely comes down to the people here who have shown us like the greatest compassion that I've seen. And just always making sure that like we're comfortable, and so we're hoping to like give back to them in whatever way that we can help as well.
Exactly. It's like the people here just drive you to want to help and give, and so it becomes easy in that regard. It's not a challenge at all. It's just you want to pour out because of that. People pour into you, you want to pour back. And that's what's so wonderful about this fellowship. It's like it's given us this opportunity to see people that we've never seen before, that treat us with the greatest care and give us time, so.
Yeah.
Do you see any business or experimental, if that's the proper word, or educational opportunities? And you say, okay, well, maybe that's something that maybe I have a friend back home, or maybe somebody in Belize that can say, listen, maybe this is an entrepreneurial opportunity or a research opportunity.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plenty. Yeah, plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do we start? Well, within Belize, like the culture and the history, I think is very important for students to learn. So like study abroad and things like that, as well as the development. I would say for development, I think there's a way to translate the business can preserve culture and also add money to like people's pockets. And there's definitely a opportunity to explore that more, to see what that looks like here, because we definitely want to make sure that native Belizeans have input within these kinds of conversations. But yeah, going forward, there's definitely a lot of potential here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the chocolate factory,
Right.
Showing the traditional use of chocolate. And I imagine that moving forward, when you progress in your career and you're doing a project on food security, you can reflect on what's being done here as well. But I want to move into something that's bugging me. Tell me about the food. What have you eaten that you've really enjoyed? Perhaps similarities to your own cultures. Tell us a bit about that. You know, I don't know. I can't speak for everybody. I love trying new food when I travel. That's just a part of the joy. And if somebody says that's what everybody eats, I want to try it, unless it's some strange animal. But yeah, tell us about it.
Well, Mrs. Saki at the Mayan Chocolate Center made us I think the mall is the original Mayan word for it, and so that was my first time having one in general. So I think trying the original native tamal, and just tasting how great the different flavors came together. That was pretty mind blowing for me.
Yeah.
Tamales?
Tamales,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Didn't eat the leaf, right?
No, I didn't eat the leaf, but I almost did.
You had to be warned.
Yeah.
So it's an old Belizean joke.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, from my perspective, I think, eating Sudanese food, growing up eating that, it's so cool to see some similar foods here. Like chicken stew, for example. We have a chicken stew in Sudan as well. Just some slight variation in the spices and spice profiles. But just seeing that throughout, just the borrowing and the exchange is really neat. I love the food, and the fact that when they say natural in the U.S., you don't know what that really means,
Right.
But here it's you go to the bush and you get your fruit and your vegetables, and it's accessible. It's right there. Everywhere you go, no matter what, the talk is about what's in season, what's not. These conversations are very present and clear, and everywhere you go. And you don't have to dig for it. So these types of things are very inspiring and very great.
Well, yesterday, I could only describe it as a binge fest on fried jack. We ate fried jack with everything yesterday for dinner. I mean, that is just the greatest thing ever. You could eat it and just keep eating it and just keep eating it. And
You can go sweet, savory,
exactly.
however
Oh my gosh, we just, each of us had at least 4 plates of fried jack. It was so good.
You can get it for breakfast after this too.
That sounds good.
All right, so tell us what's left on your schedule.
Well, we're off to Hopkins next, so we're going to explore that. Also going to Griffith Village and explore that as well. So I'm really excited to see how that will relate to what we've already learned. And so more exploration still to come. We're not done with Belize yet.
And when do you conclude your trip?
We will be done end of the month.
Yes,
End of the month.
at the end of the month.
We conclude the trip at the end of the month, but the
yes.
the
The
cruise
celebration
continues,
later
and we
next
just
year.
keep flowing, and we
Right.
just keep going, because Chef Belinda and I return to Grenada, and we start preparations for Flavors of Grenada. So we
Which will be
will
next
just
year.
keep we'll just keep
Next
rolling.
summer.
All right. Well, ladies, thank you for coming in and telling us all about your global exchange. It's such a great initiative. I think you're blessed to have the opportunity, and I'm sure it's something you're new Belize ambassadors now.
Thank you.
You can go brag about our fried jacket.
Yeah.
We definitely will.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
We're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we're shifting gears. We're going to be talking to representatives of the Tyler Savory Foundation, and they're going to be speaking about the impact of crime. So that's coming up after the break.